Hello guys, and welcome to another sewing tutorial. My name is Ihuoma Judith, and today I'll be showing you how to make this bubble skirt, also called a balloon skirt. And I'm going to be showing you how to make this skirt using the cycle method. So if this is something you're interested in and you would love to know how I made it, then let's get right into the video. So we are going to start off by making some calculations, okay? So on a piece of paper, I'm going to write down my waist circumference, which is my waist round, which is 33 inches. And I'll also write down the full length of my skirt. So I want the full length of my skirt to be 18 inches. So I went ahead to mark 18 inches, okay? So I'll just go ahead and write inches on top of my paper so that you know that all our calculations and measurements will be in inches, okay? So on my main fabric, I'm going to be cutting a full cycle. So I'll go ahead and indicate it on my paper. So my main fabric is equals a full cycle, okay? So now we are going to go ahead and write down the formula for cutting a full cycle. So the formula is your waist circumference, which is that W, divided by 6.28, okay? So that is the formula for cutting a full cycle. But for this bubble skirt, we are going to be adding an elastic band on the waist. So we are going to go ahead and increase the waist circumference by 10 inches. So my waist circumference is 33 inches plus 10 inches is 43 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark 43 inches divided by 6.28 to get our full cycle measurement, okay? And when I divided it, I got 6.84, which I approximated to 7 inches, okay? So that is for our main fabric, okay? So next we are going to be working on our lining piece, which we are going to be using to turn over our main fabric. And on this lining piece, we are going to be cutting a half cycle. So as usual, I went ahead to indicate that we'll be cutting a half cycle, and the formula for cutting a half cycle is your waist circumference, which is that W, divided by 1.57, okay? And the waist circumference I'm using is 43. So 43 divided by 1.57, I got 27.38, which I approximated it to 27 inches, okay? So I rounded it up to 27 inches. So as you can see, the formula for cutting a full cycle is totally different from cutting a half cycle. But with this formula, we are going to still get an equal waist circumference on both the main fabric and the lining, okay? So next, we are going to be working on the full length of our skirt. So the full length of my skirt is 18 inches. So on the main fabric, I'm going to be adding 4 or 5 inches to the actual skirt measurement, okay? So the full length of my skirt is 18 inches plus extra 5 inches will give me 23 inches as I marked here. So I'll be cutting the length of my main fabric at that 23 inches. So the main reason why we made our main fabric longer than the actual length is because some of the fabric is going to be going in together with the lining to turn over, okay? So it's going to create that bubble effect, all right? So on the lining piece, I also went ahead to write it down on my paper. It's going to be the actual length measurement minus whatever inches that we added for the full length. I hope you're understanding. So here, the actual full length of my skirt is 18 inches. But since I added 5 inches on the full length on my main fabric, I'm going to be minusing 5 inches from the full length on my lining piece, okay? So 18 minus 5 is 13 inches. So the full length I'll be cutting the lining piece will be 13 inches like I marked. So if you're adding 4 inches to your full length measurement on the main fabric, you're going to be minusing that 4 inches on your lining piece. And that is all the formula you need for cutting this bubble skirt, okay? I even ended up using 4 inches instead of these 5 inches on my fabrics because my fabrics were not long enough. And I'm going to be showing you. But firstly, we are going to cut our full cycle on the main fabric. So I'm going to be showing you how to fold your fabric in order to cut your cycle, okay? So I'll be illustrating using this my pattern paper. So I'm going to label this my main fabric. So on your main fabric, go ahead and fold both ends of your main fabric into 2 like this. And I'll say that long side is like the yards I'm working with. So let's say I'm working with 2 yards of fabric. You go ahead and fold the both ends into 2 like this, and you're going to be getting something like this. And if you notice, only one side of the fabric is closed. So you go ahead and fold in that closed part into 2 like this. And with that, we have folded our fabric into 4. And that is the exact way to fold your fabric in order to cut a cycle. So the upper side and the center front of your fabric will be closed like this, okay? Okay guys, so I've gone ahead and folded my main fabric into 4, as you can see, and the center front and the upper side is closed like we folded on our paper. Okay, so now we're going to go straight to imputing our measurement on our fabric. Okay, so this closed side of our fabric is where we are going to be imputing our measurements. Okay guys, so I went ahead to bring my calculation paper. So the waist circumference of our main fabric is 7 inches. So we are going to be measuring 7 inches all around the fabric. So with my tape, I'll be placing my tape on the tip of my fabric like this. Look at, if you notice, it's on the closed side. And I'll go down to 7 inches, which is the waist circumference of my main fabric, and mark. And I'm going to do that all around my fabric like this. So make sure you place your tape on the tip of your fabric like this and measure down to your waist circumference and mark. And you're going to do that rotating your tape all around like this, okay? And after I was done, I went ahead to connect these marks together like this, creating a curve. And with that, we have created the waist circumference for the main fabric, okay? So now the next thing we are going to do is to mark out our full length. So on the main fabric, we added about 5 inches to our actual length of 18 inches, which is 23 inches. But I decided to reduce it from 5 inches to 4 inches. So I'm going to replace that 5 inches to 4 inches, and 18 plus 4 is 22. So I went ahead to mark the length of 22 inches for my main fabric. And since I'm now working with 4 inches, I'll go ahead on my lining piece and minus that 4 inches from my main length, which is 18 minus 4, and I got 14 inches. I really don't know why I marked 12 inches, but 18 minus 4 is 14 inches, okay? So now from that waist circumference that we marked, I'm going to go up by 1 inches, which is for my waistband, and I'll mark down to the full length that I'm working with on the main fabric, which is 22 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark 22 inches, okay? So if you're using a waistband of ½ inches, you go up by ½ inch. If you're using a waistband of 1 inches, you go up by 1 inches, okay? So when you fix your waistband on the skirt, you will get your full length back, okay? So I'm going to go ahead now and mark all around my fabric with the length of 22 inches, which I'm working with for my main fabric. And also notice how I'm rotating my tape around my fabric like this, okay? So go ahead and do the same for yours. So after that, I went ahead to connect the marks together with my chalk, creating this curved line like this. Okay, so now that we are done, we are going to go ahead and cut through the 2 lines, okay? So firstly, we'll cut out our waist circumference, as you can see. Then we'll now go ahead and cut out the full length line like this, okay? So go ahead and do the same for yours. Very simple. And with that, we have created a full cycle for our main fabric, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and keep this aside so we can work on the lining piece. Okay guys, so we are going to still refer back to our calculation. So here I'm just showing you that 18 minus 4 is 14 inches. So I'm just writing it down again so that you can see it clearly, all right? So for our lining piece, we are going to be cutting a half cycle. So I'm going to be using this pattern paper to demonstrate how we'll be folding our fabric, okay? So we are going to be folding our fabric on a bias form. So just go ahead and open up your fabric like this, then pick one end of your fabric and turn it over to the other side like this. It's just that simple. So if you turn over your fabric like this, you have folded your fabric in a bias form. So you're going to be taking your measurements from that sharp tip, okay? And if you notice, just one end of the fabric is closed. So I'm going to do that on my lining and show you. Okay guys, so this is what it looks like after folding it on my lining, and as you can see, it's the same way we folded it on our pattern. So if you're wondering, I'm making use of 1.5 yards of lining, but I'll not be using everything, okay? So we are going to refer back to our calculation paper. So the waist circumference of our lining is about 27 inches. So I'm going to be measuring 27 inches. So with my tape, I'm going to start my measurement from that tip of my lining like this and go down to 27 inches and mark like this. And I'm going to do that all around my lining. From the tip of my lining, I'll go down to 27 inches and mark. So go ahead and do the same for yours. Mark the waist circumference of your lining piece and mark all around your lining like this. Okay, so after I was done marking it, I'm going to go ahead and connect the marks together with my chalk, creating that curved. Okay, so now the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and cut out the full length of our lining. So the full length of our lining is 14 inches as we marked, after subtracting that 4 inches from our actual length of 18 inches. Okay, so we are going to start our measurement from exactly that our curved line and go down to 14 inches and mark. And I'm going to go ahead and do that all around my lining piece like this. Okay, so go ahead and do the same for yours. Go ahead and measure from that your waist circumference of your lining and mark down the full length of your lining and mark all around the lining like this. Okay, so after I was done, as usual, I went ahead to connect the marks together, creating this curved. Okay, so after that, I'm going to go ahead and cut out those lines using my scissors. Okay, so go ahead and do the same for yours. And with that, we have created our half circle on our lining. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and keep this aside and bring our main fabric. Okay, so this is our main fabric. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and just open up one end of my fabric like this. So go ahead with your scissors and just open up one end like I'm doing like this. All right, so if you open it up, you'll be getting something like this. All right, so I just went ahead to just mark down where the hem of my fabric is. So this arrow facing down is where the hem of my fabric is facing. So I'm just going to go ahead and just measure how wide the hem is. Remember, this is a full cycle, so from one end of my fabric at the hem side, I'm going to measure it straight down till I get to the other end. Okay, and the total of what I got is about 172 inches. So that is the length of the hem of my main fabric. So now I'm going to go ahead and measure out the length of the hem of my lining also. So this arrow facing down is pointing out where the hem of my lining is. So from one end of my lining to the other side, I measured it down and I got about 56 inches, which is shorter than the main fabric. So you should be getting something similar. The hem of our lining will be shorter than the hem of our main fabric. Okay, so I kept that aside so that I can work with the main fabric like this. So this is my main fabric here. I'm going to go ahead and sew a loose stitch all straight down the hem of my fabric. So on the hem of your main fabric, go ahead and sew a loose stitch because we are going to be creating a gather stitch. Okay guys, as you can see, I've gone ahead to sew a loose stitch all around the hem of my main fabric. So we are going to go ahead to create a gathers, just a very light gathers. Okay, so as usual, you're going to pick one end of the fabric like this and you're going to loosen up the thread just about 2 to 3 times like this. And you're going to go ahead and pick just one of the thread like this. Just pick one of the thread from any of the side and pull the thread slightly. So it's going to create some ruffles as you're seeing like this. And you're going to go ahead and just straighten out the ruffles into the fabric like I'm doing and pull your thread again. So you're going to just go ahead and repeat the same process. And also make sure that you're using that same thread that you were pulling from the beginning. Okay, so when doing this process, take your time. Pull the thread, it will create some ruffles or some gathers as you're seeing like this, and you're going to straighten it out into the fabric. Okay, so you can go to the other end of your skirt, that is the hem side, and loosen out the thread about 2 or 3 times and create your gathers, pulling out just one thread, and you can do that till it meets each other. So it must not be thick, just make a very light gathers because we are going to still go ahead and create some pleating on it. All right, so this process is going to help make our skirt appear full. Remember that the hem of our main fabric is longer than the hem of our lining piece. So guys, as you can see, I've gone ahead to create the light gather stitch all around the hem of my main fabric. Even there was a point where my thread loosened up, but it doesn't really matter because, like I said, I'm still going to go ahead to create pleatings on it. So even with this gather stitch that I made, it is still way longer than the hem of my lining. So now the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and bring our lining piece so that we can create our pleating on it. All right, so on the hem side of our lining, that is that place our arrow is facing down, I'm going to go ahead and place the hem of my main fabric. That is the place that we did our gathers. So I'm going to be placing the right side of my main fabric on the lining. Remember, a lining doesn't have a wrong and a right side, just the main fabric. So go ahead and pin down the main fabric to the lining like this, and go ahead to create pleating all around the lining piece like this. So we are going to be creating a pleating on the main fabric so that we can reduce the length of the hem of our main fabric to be equal with the lining. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. So on the hem of our main fabric, I'm going to go ahead and create pleatings to reduce the length to be equal with the length of the hem of my lining. So go ahead and create random pleatings all around your main fabric. It doesn't have to be a particular size or a particular spacing, okay? So you go ahead and pleat it all around like this, and make sure that the both fabrics, that is our main fabric and our lining, is equal at the hem side like this. All right, okay guys, so as you can see, I've gone ahead to create pleating on my main fabric, and the length is equal with the lining, as you can see. So I pinned them all down. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine and sew straight down the hem of my skirt. Okay guys, so as you can see, I've gone ahead to sew straight down the hem of my skirt like this. So now the next thing we are going to do is to turn over our lining piece to the front like this, so that we can hide that stitches. So go ahead and turn over your lining like this, and I'm going to go ahead now and drag the lining piece to meet my main fabric on the waistline like this. So if you do that, you're going to be getting something like this. So if you notice, our main fabric folded over to meet the lining piece. So that is the extra 4 inches that we added on our full length measurement on the main fabric. Okay, so this is going to help hide our lining so that it's not going to be showing, and also going to help make that bubble effect more. So now I'm going to just go ahead now to pin the lining to my main fabric on the waistline like this, and I'm going to go ahead and do that straight down the waistline like this. And after pinning it down, I'm going to go ahead and sew straight down the waistline, joining the lining to my main fabric like this. Okay, so go ahead and do the same for yours. Also guys, I'm also going to go ahead and join the sides together. So when sewing, start from the top of your fabric, that is the waistline, and sew straight down. And I'm going to do that on the both sides of my fabric, okay? So I've gone ahead to sew straight down on the waistline, joining my main fabric to the lining. And as you can see, our bubble skirt is coming to shape. So I also went ahead to sew down the sides of my skirt, starting from the waistline straight down, and I did that on the both side. Okay, so now the next thing we are going to do is the creating of our waistband. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold my fabric into 2 like this, and I'm going to measure the waistline. So my waistline on fold is about 23 inches. That means if you open it up, you get about 46 inches. So I'm going to use that to cut out my waistband. So I went ahead to cut out a waistband. So my fabric was not enough, so I just went ahead to cut out pieces like this to join and created my waistband. So that is why this joining is. Okay, so on fold, I measured my waistband and I got about 26 inches, which if you open it up, you get about 52 inches, which is way longer than what I needed. And the width of my waistband is about 3.5 inches. So I'm going to trim off the excess of my waistband after joining it. But firstly, I'm just going to go ahead and open up my skirt like this. So on the right side, facing the right side, I'm going to go ahead and place my waistband on the waistline like this. And I'm going to go ahead and sew straight down the waistline by 1/2 inch, joining the band to the skirt, okay? Okay guys, so as you can see, I've sewed straight down the waistline, joining my band to the skirt, and I also went ahead to trim off the excess. Okay, so now the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead to create our waistband. So you're going to go ahead and fold over your waistband to the waistband inches you gave. So if you gave about 1 inches allowance for your waistband, you go ahead and fold it out to be 1 inches like this, and you're going to go ahead and sew in between the line that joined our waistband to the skirt. So you're going to go ahead and do the same straight down. Okay, I hope hope you're understanding. Go ahead and fold it out by 1 inch. If it's 1 inch allowance you give for your waistband, and sew on that line. This is going to hold the waistband to the skirt, and you're going to go ahead and do that straight down. But here I decided to do my own waistband to be about 0.75 inches. Okay, so I went ahead to fold down my waistband to be about that 0.75 inches, and I'm going to go ahead now and sew along that line to join my band to my skirt. Okay, so just to maintain the length of your skirt, go ahead and use that waistband allowance you gave. Okay, guys, so as you can see, I've gone ahead to create my waistband by about that 0.75 inches that I gave, and I did that straight down my waistline. Okay, and if you notice, I sewed on that joining. Notice how I sewed on that joining, so my stitching is not showing. And if you turn over the skirt, this is what the waistline will be looking like on the wrong side. So you're just going to go ahead to trim off the excess fabric on the waistband. But before that, I'm going to go ahead and fix my elastic band. And as you can see, I'm making use of this 1/2 inch elastic band because this is what is going to fit in on this my waistband. But if your waistband is about 1 inch or more, you can use a 1 inch elastic waistband. And so, okay, so how to know the length of an elastic band you're going to use? You're going to subtract 7 inches from your actual waist round measurement. Okay, so my waist circumference is 33 inches, and if you subtract 7 inches from it, I got 26 inches. So I went ahead to cut out a length of 26 inches for my elastic band. And as you can see, I pinned down one end of my elastic band with my safety pin, and I'm going to use that to pass through the opening of my waistband. Okay, and I'm going to do that till I pull out the elastic band to the other side of my waistband like this. Okay, I also went ahead to just pin down the other end of my elastic band so that it's not going to go completely into my waistband, and even if it goes into the waistband completely, it will be easy for me to still pull out the elastic band. Remember that the elastic band is shorter than the waistband. Okay, so that is what is going to help us create that ruffles that you're seeing like this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and pull out my elastic band to the other end like this. As you can see, go ahead and do that. So when you're done, your elastic band will be on both ends of your waistband like this, and I'm now going to go ahead now and stitch both ends of my waistband like this to secure the elastic bands. Okay, guys, so as you can see, I've stitched down the both sides of my waistband, securing that elastic band to it, as you can see. So if you turn over the fabric to the right side, you should be getting something like this. And as you can see, I've trimmed off the excess fabric on my waistband. So now the next thing we are going to do is to just fold our fabric into two like this, right side facing the right side, and we are going to go ahead and stitch the sides together like this by 1 inch. Okay, so when doing that, just push your elastic, make sure that it's flattened out like this, and you're going to go ahead and sew straight down by about 1 inch. Okay, guys, so as you can see, I've sewed down the sides by that 1 inch. So you're going to go ahead and weave that side, and also you're going to go ahead to weave down this our extra waistband allowance. As you can see, just go ahead and weave it down to just give it this neat look. Okay, and this is how the back is looking like, very neat and very clean. So I'm just going to turn over my skirt to the right side so you can see what it looks like, and this is what it looks like on the right side. See how pretty our bubble skirt is, very neat and clean, and look at how the elastic band is sitting, very neat. So I'm going to put this on and show you what it looks like on me. Okay, guys, so this is how the bubble skirt looks like on me. Our bubble skirt is bubbling, looking very cute, very neat, and I hope you found this tutorial helpful. I really hope you love this tutorial. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're a subscriber, thank you and God bless you. And I do hope to see you in my next video. Until next time, bye bye.